It's my pleasure to introduce the CEO of Reva Medical to the Morgans Network. Reggie Groves recently joined Reva and has got a very strong background in the medical device sector. Reggie, I wonder if I can just start off by asking why you decided to join Reva and what was the things that appealed to you?
Sure. Several major reasons why I was excited to join Reva. First, the area of bioresorbable is, I think, a revolutionary change in medical devices, and particularly implantable medical devices. The second reason is coronary artery disease is a large and growing problem for all of us. Whether I'll have it myself, I'll certainly have friends and relatives who will have it, and I think it's an area ripe for improvement in how to treat patients and cure that disease. Third, I love the stage of where Reva is. It's a 17-year-old company. They have tried for a long time to perfect the idea of how to make a good bioresorbable product, learned a lot along the way, and I think now have the product that can be the market leader. I also was very impressed with the fact that the product is in clinical trial. It has moved through the stages of, I think, the highest risk in terms of is it going to perform, which is the first implant and 30 days past the first implant, and I think there's enough clinical data to say this product is in fact going to live up to its potential. I think that the team in San Diego is fabulous. The board of directors is just a rock star group of folks, and of course the investor base is very impressive. And finally, given my experience at Medtronic, having launched a product into a space with entrenched competitors and trying to change how physicians do procedures, I think I'm the right person to take Reva from an R&D company into commercialization.
Okay, can we talk about the stent market? Who are the major players and what's the competitive advantage that you think the Reva product may have over some of the other players that are trying to work in this area?
So there's three major players today in the metal stent arena: Abbott, Boston Scientific, and Medtronic. Metal stents dominate the treatment approach today. Abbott is leading the way in bioresorbable. So Abbott has a first-generation bioresorbable product called Absorb. Reva has a second-generation product that has significant advantages over the Absorb product. The first advantage is that our Phantom product is visible under X-ray. That means the physician can know where it is, know that they've placed it where they want it, and that it's got the right positioning in the heart. The second advantage is we have a stronger baseline polymer that makes up our stent. Strength means that we can make a smaller profile stent, which has several advantages. First, it means it'll heal fast and heal well and allow that blood to flow through the artery smoothly. Second, because it's smaller than Abbott's Absorb, it's a little easier to deliver it, particularly through difficult veins that have to turn lots of turns in the heart. And finally, because it's stronger, our stent can be expanded more broadly. So when the physician has the stent where they want it and they blow it up with a balloon, that's how they deploy it. They have a balloon, the stent sits on a balloon and you blow it up. They can push a little further and not have to worry about breaking that stent. And then the final advantage is we don't have the temperature sensitivity, the liquid sensitivity that the competitors' polymers have, which means ours doesn't have to be stored in a refrigerator, and we don't have limitations around how fast you have to deploy it in the body or whether or not you can pull it out and put the catheter back in and reuse it during that procedure.
Mm-hmm. So you're undertaking a clinical trial at the moment. Do you want to give us some more detail about how that's progressing and what the future lies once that trial's completed?
Sure. So we did a little tiny pilot trial which is completed. We released the data and everything looked exceptional in that pilot trial of 7 patients. We're now in our what we call a pivotal trial of 220 patients. It's in 2 groups of 110 patients each. So the first 110 patients finished enrollment and all have their stents as of September 30th earlier this year. Those patients will be followed for 6 months, and then That 6-month follow-up point will be the data set which we use to submit for regulatory approval in Europe. That's called CE mark. And then the second cohort of 110 patients started enrolling in the trial in October 1st. And those patients will be followed for 9 months, and we'll release data on both what we call Cohort A and Cohort B starting in the spring of 2016. We expect to see our submission for CE mark in Q3 2016, and if a normal regulatory cycle happens, we'll have approval late in 2016.
Okay, so there are key milestones that investors can look for. So that's really going to be important for driving the share price. Just to hone in on the first milestone, or when the first set of data is going to be released, that's going to be released at a conference or something like that. Can you provide some details on that?
Sure. The biggest European conference in the arena of stents is called EuroPCR. It's in Paris in May. So we will certainly target releasing as much data as we can on that first cohort of patients and their 6-month data at EuroPCR. I would expect 50 to 75 of the 110 patients will have had enough data and enough time for us to process it to be able to release then. We might be able to release a little bit earlier. There's a big convention in the U.S. called ACC in March, and so we may see a little bit of data released in March as well.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned you have a very strong shareholder base. I wonder if you can provide some more detail on that. And there's also one of those major shareholders has got a right of distribution. Perhaps some detail on that.
Right. So we have 2 medical device companies that we have a strong relationship with, Medtronic and Boston Scientific. Medtronic has an equity stake at this point in time in Reva, and Boston Scientific has a distribution right. Both companies have large sales forces. They're in the space, as we talked about earlier. So we're very excited that Boston might elect to distribute our product and give us access to a very large sales force right out of the gate as soon as we have approval. Our investor base also includes a couple of big Asian investment groups, Senrigan and Goldman Sachs, and then some blue chip U.S. investors as well.
Investors always like to know the cash position of the company. So what's the position at the moment?
Sure. So as of October 1st, we had just a little over or just a little under $22 million in the bank, which should take us well into, if not through, Q3 2016. We have a warrant holder who we expect to exercise their warrants here in the next couple of months. That will bring in another $11.4 million of cash, which will take us well into 2017.
Okay, so a well-funded business to get some key clinical results.
Exactly.
Reggie, we might leave it there. I've been joined by Reggie Groves, who's the CEO from Reva Medical. She's joined the Morgans Network today and has provided us with some details about the medical device market. The product that they're operating in is a large stent market, and there's plenty of news flow coming over the next 6 to 12 months to drive the share price higher. Reggie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Scott.